Generative AI is creating new ways for government organizations to engage citizens, deliver information, and provide more timely services. But as agencies consider leveraging this evolving technology, government leaders are also looking for guidance to ensure that usage is both effective and responsible. The creation of the NIST AI Risk Management Framework has marked the introduction of the first ever AI framework to support government and private sector delivery of AI. And to explore what's in that report, we're welcoming today Raj Rana, Specialist and Customer Engineering Leader for Google Public Sector, and Addie Cooke, Global AI Public Policy Lead at Google Cloud. Raj and Addie, thank you so much for joining us. So Raj, let me start with you, if I may. There's been much discussion about the potential of generative AI across industry and government. Tell us more about the benefits of this evolving technology and how this NIST framework will help guide constructive developments around responsible AI.
Sure. So, Wyatt, I think generative AI has been top of mind for everyone, regardless of whether you're in the industry or not. The primary reason why generative AI is so exciting is because it's driving so many new opportunities, really focused around operational efficiencies, cost savings, value creation. When we look at generative AI here at Google, there's really across four areas. Well, one is making complex data intuitively accessible, right? So that's improving the time to value. Driving online interactions, making them more conversational, so not looking like you're engaging with with an actual computer, which improves the overall experience. Creating content, right? Content with the click of a button, whether that's text content, whether that's code, whether that's images, video, music. I mean, the number of modalities is increasing every day. And last but not least, it's actually allowing customers to make their own data and their own internal ML operational platforms and to really create their own models. So it's not really being dependent upon external data, but using your own data in an easily using your own data to create your own models. Now back to the NIST framework, this is it's a different challenge. Right. So the challenges that we've traditionally had around securing just the infrastructure and everything else is secured as part of that has significantly changed. I think we'll get into more of this as we get through the rest of these conversations. But really, it's looking at the models both from an infrastructure perspective, or rather, looking at the solution of the domain space from an infrastructure perspective, from a platform perspective, and from an application perspective.
So, Addie, let me bring you in here. You know, the conversation around AI has also seemed to be divided between the kind of pros and potential risks. While on the one hand, there are calls to halt technology advances, there are also constructive developments to guide industry and government as well. So how has Google developed its own AI governance and laid out measures for AI accountability within its organization that government organizations might learn from?
Yeah, no, thanks for the question. Google has long-time policies, which we called AI principles, which we released in 2018. Very quickly after that, we actioned on those principles and created governance processes to support actioning on those principles. And when I say actioning on the principles, I mean creating risk management processes to support our principle around being built and tested for safety, being accountable to people, upholding high standards of scientific excellence, and of course, privacy by design principles. And I know Raj mentioned security. Those are all different equities that you find in the NIST AI risk management framework. And it's why Google was an early supporter and has been an active, engaged company in the design and development of the AI risk management framework. You know, we felt like our longtime experience had a lot to share with NIST on how they could also advise other companies, small, medium enterprises. For Google, we often speak with customers about, how we manage our processes. They're interested in managing their own processes. And what the NIST AI risk management framework does is allow us all to address risk in a similar taxonomy, in a similar manner. And really, because risk management is a shared community ecosystem, it's necessary to address the risks in that context as well. One company cannot manage all the risks alone. We must work with our customers, and so we've been really excited that the framework was released in January, and we're really excited to see what profiles come from that process too. It enables a specific opportunity to go deeper into specific industries or variations of AI, and we expect that this is really just the beginning of the framework, and there's much more to come in terms of how we manage risks.
Well, Raj, back to you, kind of following on that, how is Google taking these lessons learned and translating them into constructive guidance for their government partners working under similar pressures, obviously, to develop AI governance and accountability as they work with the government?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Wyatt. So Google has been involved in the generative AI space since well back before 2017, and in AI for longer than that. And so we take, as Addie referred to, right, we take a lot of the lessons that we've learned, and not only have we baked that into our products, but we're also into our services, but also publishing that information out, publishing that as guidance. And so externally, there is there's the Google Secure AI framework, which is a conceptual framework that's used to how do you help secure AI technology. And as I mentioned before, it's not enough to just secure the infrastructure. There's multiple components to that. And so the AI framework takes 6 core elements, including expanding strong security foundations, extending and detecting response to bringing AI into a threat universe, automating defense to keep pace with existing and new threats, harmonizing platform level controls, adapting controls to adjust mitigations, and then contextually AI system risks surrounding the business processes. So it's a very comprehensive approach that partners very closely and aligns very closely with the NIST framework, that takes the lessons that Google has learned over the course of the years of how we secure our own infrastructure and how we secure our own offerings, and publish that out for the industry.
Well, and to follow up on that, can you share some use case examples, Raj, of how federal agencies can successfully implement generative AI models, under these new frameworks?
Yeah, so we just held a generative AI live in labs event here in Washington D.C. a couple of weeks ago, and had an opportunity to meet with number of agency CIOs, and it's very interesting, Wyatt, just the range and the spectrum of responses. There were some agencies who really had to control their employees, because they were just going, they were spinning up generative AI. I'll call them proofs of concepts or pilots all over the place. And then there's others that have completely stopped. And so really what was the common theme across all of them is a recognition that we have to enable this. We can't stop this, right? You can't stop this trend. You have to enable it. But there's really a critical importance around doing it in a way that is responsible, that protects the agency's data, and frankly allows I'll call it sandboxing, or allows prototyping without being irresponsible. And so we recommend, so what we, in addition to that, to the Secure AI framework, really kind of the approach that we follow when we're talking to agencies is what we call enterprise readiness. And that's data governance, right? So making sure you ask who controls the data when you're using these technologies, who's controlling that data, how do you tune the data, What are the commitments to privacy, right? Foundational information around the data. The second is security and compliance support, right? Are you sure that when you're using a system or you're using a capability, that the infrastructure is secure, that the capabilities there are secure? Then there's other components. AI is a very resource-intensive process, so it's important to ensure not only that you have the reliability, but there's also a focus on sustainability. And then last but not least is as you're going through your pilots and your prototypes, making sure that you focus on that safety and responsibility, right? That theme of responsible AI is something that we weave throughout everything that we do, and it's one that we encourage as well. So what we're doing, so those are we don't have any names that we can share publicly yet, but we have a number of agencies that we're actually running pilots with right now for them to take these use cases and truly understand this. And ultimately what I'll tie back to is that these are the key things is the guidance that we provide is one is start small. Don't try to tackle something that's very large. Understand the tech, start small where you can understand the use case. And understand and have the IT team understand the technology, but also get the buy-in from the business. The second is recognize that this is a new model. This is a new approach. So you have to get buy-in from legal. You have to get buy-in from procurement. You have to get buy-in from a number of different parts of the organization that you may not typically engage with. And then last but not least is again tying back to the business owner is, make sure that the use case you identify is actually adding value, not just something that's a cool thing to play. I mean, we're all for that. That's where a lot of innovation occurs. But as we're starting through here, make sure that there's clear value, so that there is value that can be communicated up to the business.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Addie, back to you. So then this AI risk management framework was developed obviously for the federal government, but how can it apply, and do you see it applying to state government initiatives as well?
Oh, sure. And you know what, Wyatt, the NIST AI risk management framework is sort of user agnostic. And I say that because it's applicable to the private sector. It's applicable to any level of public sector, and that includes state and local. And, I think that's important because, again, one of the things that we really strive for is interoperability, right? We want our products in DC to work as well in Texas and in California. And that's why we love something like the NIST AI risk management framework. Again, we're all singing off the same song sheet. We're all approaching risk management in similar manners. It's why the NIST AI risk management framework team, the NIST team, has also cooperative agreements with Singapore, with Israel, with the UK, with the EU, because they also recognize that we want to make sure, especially American technology, can be used all over the world. And, just to put a finer point on things that Raj said, governance is a team sport, right? Like, you want everybody to get involved. And that includes ensuring that the public understands how you're using the technology, that you're able to clearly communicate the value that AI is bringing to you as a receiver of public services. And I think that's always a key thing we hear from our public sector customers. How do we communicate that? How do we have scalable governance, but also we're ensuring that our due diligence to the public is met? And that's why we think the NIST management framework includes a lot of those considerations, includes the team sport and the public communication aspects. And we, very perfect message that also translates to state and local as well.
Those are some great points. Raj, in closing, what recommendations would you provide to agency leaders at this point to take more proactive steps in establishing an AI governance framework, within their own organizations?
Yeah, so the good news about this, Wyatt, is that there's a lot of information that's out there. And I think that first and foremost is find a good partner, right? Find a partner that you can work with that can help you through this process. As we mentioned, Google has this secure AI framework, whether you use that, whether you use the NIST framework, right? Make sure that you're aligning to something that ensures that you're leveraging the learnings of those that have come ahead of you. I think the second piece I would say is get educated. It's one thing to understand, especially as we get into this new model, as we talk about things like trust, and it's critically important that you understand how the technology works, not just at the app level, or you engage and how it works from a prompt perspective, but also what is going on beneath behind the scenes, beneath the covers. It's critically important to ensure that as you're going and bringing the rest of the organization around, that you have confidence in your capabilities to be able to clearly communicate what is occurring, so that you can build that trust, because different organizations are going to have different expectations of what they're looking for in order to meet whatever that definition of trust is. And last but not least is, frankly, I would say, get started, right? Identify, find somebody innovative on the business side who has a great idea. Work with them. Especially, this is to the folks on the IT side. Work with them, and use them to go together to be able to show, here is value that we're able to add, and then within that text, communicate out to the other leaders how this adds value, so that there's a clear understanding of this, not as a technology, but truly as an enabler.
And Addie, as we wrap up, I'm just going to ask you to add on a little. AI responsibility is also about more than just avoiding risk. So as these leaders think about developing their governance, there's also the question as well about, so how are citizens being better served through all this? So as you kind of wrap up with us, what recommendations would you offer agency leaders in finding the right kinds of programs, if you will, to really benefit from an AI model?
Great question. So, I think when I think about your question, I think about the different flavors of agency we have, right? The different industries or use cases that any particular agency supports. And it's those folks, both within the agency, the constituents that they serve, who understand the opportunities best. And so, communication is always key between the procurers, the advocates for supporting a new technology to support a really important use case. Those are within the agency. And I say this because one of the things that we've long recognized at Google is, cloud knows our customers best, search knows their customers best. And so we really do take a sort of product level look at the industries in which we're supporting. We have financial services specialists, we have healthcare specialists. You can't really set AI healthcare policy at the government-wide level. And that's also the beauty of the NIST framework. The NIST frameworks allows it to be adapted to specific industry use cases. And it also allows for seeking out specific industry opportunities. And so we really encourage a very focused lens on whatever the use case is. Is it housing? Is it delivering veterans benefits? Look for the opportunities and the risks specific to that industry, and then build your, NIST framework instance around the use case, around the industry, to make sure you're supporting those opportunities and risks at the nearest level.
That's great advice. Well, Raj Rana and Addie Cooke, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your respective insights about the role of AI, responsible AI, and how government agencies can continue to build on its potential. So thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Wyatt.
It's a very exciting space, Wyatt. Appreciate the opportunity to share.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Take care.